It's the eCommerce Master Plan podcast. Here to help you solve your marketing problems and grow your e-commerce business. Cutting through the hype to bring you inspiration and advice from the e-commerce sector and beyond. Here's your host, Chloe Thomas.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the eCommerce Master Plan podcast. I'm Chloe, the creator and host of this award-winning show, and it's my aim in every single episode to help you find ways to improve your e-commerce business. So thank you very much for tuning in. It's great to be able to help you too. Today, I am catching up with an international seller of baby products who leverages the Amazon and other platforms to the nth degree and also runs their own Magento site. He's going to be being very honest about what they're achieving and how he's grown the business to £4 million turnover. That's annual sales for those who don't speak turnover. Before we get into all that, though, please do check out the sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Klavio, the ultimate e-commerce marketing platform for brands of all kinds and sizes. Whether you're an entrepreneur just starting out or you're part of a marketing team at a multinational brand, Klavio will give you everything you need to create memorable marketing moments, building customer relationships that keep shoppers coming back time and time again. Get started with a free account today. Visit klavio.com/masterplan. That's KLAVIYO.com/masterplan. This message comes from eCommerce Masterplan sponsor Wix eCommerce, the industry-leading e-commerce platform with advanced online storefront features. Wix eCommerce is the complete solution for entrepreneurs, omnichannel retailers and brands to launch, run and scale their online stores successfully. Go to wix.com/ecommerce, that's wix.com/ecommerce today and join over 700,000 active stores selling worldwide with Wix eCommerce. And now to introduce today's special guest. Trevor Ginn is the founder of Hello Baby Direct. Founded in 2011, they sell via over 20 different channels globally and achieve over £4 million a year in sales. Hello, Trevor.
Hello.
Great to have you here. I've just given the shortest intro to your business ever. But before we get into kind of the more in-depth side of it, how did you end up in this wonderful world of e-commerce?
Well, about kind of 12 years ago now, I was working for a company called Auctioning for You, who were probably the UK's largest eBay trading assistant. They were working for people like Dixon's to sell their excess inventory on eBay, which, if you cast your mind back, they were the days when eBay was very much the thing in the way that Amazon is the thing these days. And so in that job, I was helping retailers to sell their products online, and met a lot of retailers, and I decided in my arrogance that I could do it better than they could, which, I don't know, some ways I have and some ways I haven't.
So that just inspired you to get into your own business?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was, at the time about, 12 years ago, it was, e-commerce was was even newer than it is now. And, there was these exciting channels that people could sell through. I mean, I'd also recently, the company I worked for was going bust, and I just had a kid, and it seemed like a reasonable market to get into. So, and I was looking for decide you want to get e-commerce, you have to decide what sector you want to be in. Didn't have to spend a lot of money on kid stuff, so that's what I decided to do. I don't know if that was the right decision or not, but that's how I got started. I mean, e-commerce has certain advantages for entrepreneurs, as in it's quite easy to start, and you can start on a very small scale, which is certainly good for me. You don't need to raise any funds or anything like that. On the downside, it's hugely competitive, but then I think everything's hugely competitive.
Yes, it is. It seems like every year everything gets more competitive. But let's explain a bit more about Hello Baby Direct. So, where in the world are you, and where do you sell to?
So we are based in a place called St Albans, which is just north of London. As close to London as you can get without actually being in London, as I like to say. Our customers all around the world. In fact, we do about 50% of our trade is exported, which I think is very high. In fact, probably too high. I'd say that we overperform internationally, we underperform in the UK. I think a healthier, it would be more like a kind of, 75%, 25% would be healthier. But, it's great to sell lots of stuff internationally.
It certainly gives you more options, and maybe we'll get into that in a bit shortly. The product, are you creating your own baby products, or are you selling other people's?
We don't. We sell other people's products, though we may at some point quite soon start making our own products, white labeling products, which seems to be very much a way that people make money online these days. Definitely
a way to increase those margins. And what I mentioned that you sell via over 20 different channels. So let's start off with what the kind of the website platform is, and then let's talk about where else you're selling.
So the website platform is Magento, for better or worse. That would be, most of that traffic, about 2/3 of the traffic from that comes from paid search. Equally, the website is very international, so we do, I'm not quite sure what the split is, but probably over half is exported. We are trying at the moment to grow the amount of traffic that we do, through other channels, like, for example, SEO and email. So the website's about 1/3 of our business, and the other 2/3 is marketplaces, which again is possibly not terribly healthy, and we're trying to improve that. But marketplaces are a bit of an open door to push against.
It's always that difficult thing, isn't it? It's like, right, we've got this split and we want to improve it, but you're never going to say no to the sales growth on the marketplaces. So then it becomes about growing the core website. But then if the marketplaces outpace it, you're still making progress, but you never quite get that balance the way you want it.
Yeah, the website, we have grown I think part of it is to, once you sell on one marketplace, it's quite easy to sell on others. That's one thing. Also, we have grown our website enormously over the last 2 years. It's gone from, I don't know, it's the highest proportion it's ever been. But, marketplaces, Amazon has been growing at a ferocious rate, and our website has been, I think it's probably been growing at a faster rate, but still from a kind of a lower base. And we say with 20 channels, basically it depends what you count as a channel. So we would sell on about half our business has been, a third to half has been Amazon, but that's Amazon UK, but then also the EU, France, Italy, Germany, Spain, Japan, USA, Canada, Australia. We do a little bit on some other, we do quite a lot on something called Frugo. Mm-hmm. We do, which is a great marketplace. We do a bit on Cdiscount. We do a bit on something called OnBuy. We have sold on some other marketplaces, but it is kind of, you really do have a few major players, and then the other ones are kind of not worth bothering with, really. And we sell on eBay as well, which is about 10% of our business, but that seems to been slightly dying recently. We need to invest more time in it to improve it.
It strikes me that marketplaces is kind of the sexy on-trend way to expand overseas. And there is an awful lot of e-commerce businesses looking to get into marketplaces. So for those who are planning on taking their first step, as someone who does a lot of this, what would your advice be?
Well, I think my general advice would be that it's a good idea. I think that you've got, the marketplaces do, obviously that's where a lot of the customers are, for the first thing. I don't know. I think a healthy split for us, I say we probably we do more than half our sales on marketplaces. I don't know what the split is in the UK for kind of, what percentage of e-commerce marketplaces are, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 50%. Certainly, supposedly Amazon in the USA is 50% of e-commerce. So I think if you are reflecting your market as a whole, you're probably not doing too badly. Obviously, if you can do better than that. Marketplaces are, they charge, around 15%. You could say that's quite a lot, but certainly it's quite easy to end up spending more money than that on marketing your own website. Once you've, to a certain extent, you outsource all your marketing to the marketplace, and therefore you don't need to employ your expensive SEO agency or whatever. So, allegedly they're more expensive, but is that really the case? I think that they are particularly good for international trade. Because, if you take our business, for example, I mean, you could say, well, we can reach businesses in the UK, but I mean, to take a slightly extreme example, we sell a few £1,000s every month on Amazon Japan, and it's difficult. It would be very difficult for us to reach those customers otherwise. How else would you do it? I mean, you're not going to set up, you can set up a localized version of your website, there's ways of doing that, but for someone like Japan, it would be difficult. You can use Google Shopping, and we've done that in Japan. Didn't really achieve that much, So, and also in terms of but words, in other words, on the website, I mean, we have done very, very well on our website selling to the USA before the pandemic and all the shipping rates went up. We used to do very well selling to the USA, much less well now. We've done reasonably well into Europe on our website, but certain places like, as an example, Amazon's launching a Turkish site. Because Amazon basically works the same way all around the world, effectively. So if you know how to use it in the UK, you will know how to use it in Turkey. And also because it's Amazon's a catalogue site. So the chances are that a lot of your inventory that you've listed in one country will be available in another country. It'll have the same ASIN. Basically, Amazon stock number will be the same in each country, because the product with the same barcode should have the same inventory so the same ASIN in the next country. So you can just say, okay, these are the items that I've got in the UK. I want to sell those items in wherever, Turkey. Let's just do an upload, find out which ones of those items already exist, and list against those items. And you could, then you would, you can reach customers in, say, Turkey or Japan somewhere, which I think you would find very hard to get otherwise.
It's an awful lot quicker as well doing it that way in terms of time to market.
I think from that point of view, I think it makes an awful lot of sense. And I mean, also to a lesser extent, marketplaces like eBay. I mean, you do get local marketplaces, but they tend to be, in my experience, quite hard to sell on. So, for example, we tend to be strong in the markets where the channels that we sell to are strong. So, if you're looking at, a classic example would be something like China, whereby, Google and Amazon and eBay don't really sell in China. So therefore we don't sell in China, and it's very hard to sell on Tmall. Maybe the subject of another podcast, ways in which I've failed to sell in China. It's a lot. No one has tried harder and no one has failed more completely. I'm sure that's not true. It's very hard to do.
I think that's a really interesting point, that when you're doing marketplace selling, if your platform works well in a country, you're going to work well in a country. And it's kind of like that, making the most of the skill set you've gained at doing well on a platform is to concentrate on that platform, which to my mind makes me wonder how many people there are in your team managing all of this, because I always think it's selling via your own website is one skill set, selling via Amazon is another skill set, selling via eBay is another skill set, Frugo the same. They're all different methods to learn. So how do you manage that across the team?
Mainly it's been me doing it all. It's me. Certainly, till relatively recently, it was me doing it all, but I have hired some people recently. I mean, as you know, I some ways, I just feel I'm starting. I've been doing it for like 10 years, but I feel I'm just starting on things because there's so many things I feel that we don't do very well. I mean, there's the marketplace bit, but we've got to the point now that in order to improve the marketplace, we need to put a lot, dedicated attention, and you need someone who's good at email, you need someone who's good at SEO, and do you get these you can get so far doing it yourself, but I think once you get to the point we're at, you need to say, well, actually, how do we improve? Because if I just continue to do it myself, we're never going to improve. And you end up doing better on one thing and less well on another. So we've just hired we've got an e-commerce manager and a marketing manager, and it's taken a lot of pressure off me, but in the short term it's very expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, some things work out of the box and some things don't. So you can, for example, I think that marketplaces, you can get a long way yourself without getting anyone to help you, because, a lot of it is to a certain extent publishing exercise, or publishing your products and your prices on the particular channel, and then also kind of publishing them internationally, and that will get you a certain, that'll get you a long way. I think if you get to the point now, how do you grow it? You kind of stagnate after a while doing that. So But I mean, if you take Frugo, for example, that's basically just there's a very, very limited number of levers you can actually pull.
Which does make life easy, doesn't it?
It is. It is.
We'll publish and then we'll get the sales.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things. I mean, if you are, you're picking up. One way of looking at marketplaces is saying, okay, they're for incremental sales, right? So you're listing across these multiple marketplaces, and you're saying, okay, I'm hoping that in doing this, I'm taking the stuff which I would have published on my website anyway, and I'm publishing it on these different marketplaces. Now, I think from that point of view, I mean, there's various lists saying, there's 100 marketplaces in Europe or something, and I don't know who sells on all these things because they're very limited, some of them, and I mean maybe there's some quite specific kind of fashion ones, but I mean if you take something like in South America, there's things, I mean, we'd love to sell into, there's Mercado Libre in South America, but there's problems with, it doesn't integrate into most of the systems. It's very difficult to ship into South America, and it's just too difficult to do. And it's the same with, lots of other places like China, like Southeast Asia. I mean, the channels exist, but they're very hard for people who aren't based in those regions to sell on them, which is why Amazon's so great, because it works the same way all around the world. It integrates with every e-commerce system. And you can just sell on it. You don't need to worry about, you don't need to get a local business. You don't have to do that.
You just get on with it, can't you?
You just get on with it. And I mean, the amount of time that I've spent mucking around, and that's probably the right word, with new channels, and about 1 in 4 of them works or something. And I've spent a huge amount of time trying to get these things to work.
So, Trevor, something which you said, which I think has possibly got the minds buzzing of several of our listeners, is that you managed to grow the business to 4 million using multiple channels, so balancing the own site and the marketplaces all on your own, which I'm guessing means you're kind of a master of efficiency and organisation. So, and
you're too kind.
Well, I know how difficult it is to do that. I know many of our listeners are trying to juggle those things, as a single person business as well. So what would you say are the key ways in which you've kept yourself on track and kept yourself growing the business over the last 10 years?
As opposed to giving up?
Well, yes. And as opposed to, you said about, launching on multiple different marketplaces and trying to get them to work and them failing, making the decision of actually, no, we'll leave that one and which ones to test and keeping yourself kind of on track, I suppose, because it's hard to do that when you're solo.
I suppose I'm very persistent and certain love of e-commerce, I think. I kind of have slightly got to the end of that road in a way. There's certain things that having done it for so long, I now really, really need some help with. I'm no good at email marketing. I can write an email as well as the next person, but actually, making it work is something which I find quite hard. I think, I really am acutely feeling this at the moment. Running a business is really, really hard. And it's been, having spent a long time doing it, I now realise I'm acutely aware of what my failings are, and I now I need to get to the next stage. I need to hand off these things to people and let people who are better than me or at least have a different perspective from me for doing it. And I really see, I don't know, but I see that in all these things. You can do things yourself, which is great from the point of view that it's it's cheap, but then you really don't get second perspectives on things. So there's things that I've been battling with for years that I still, that I still haven't solved, and I'm just looking at them thinking, how can I have been doing this so long and still not have solved this problem? And anyway, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
I think it helps answer the question. I suspect a lot of going, oh, okay, so it is meant to be hard. Yes, everyone, it is meant to be hard, unfortunately. Are there any, I'm guessing you're using a fair few software systems, though, to lighten the load. So are there any you'd like to give a shout out to?
Well, we are a Linworks user. I think as an e-commerce platform, I think that some people think these platforms are quite expensive. I personally think it's amazing value. The amount of time it saves you.
And just to be clear for everyone listening, what is it you use Linworks to do in terms of managing things?
I think I'd call it an e-commerce sales platform. I think that they would call themselves a total commerce platform. So they basically, it's like a hub for business. So it controls it's got its inventory, it's managing the dispatch of orders. So you have all your inventory data in one place. It publishes it on lots of different channels, marketplaces, website, etc. Pulls in the orders into a central place, manages the dispatch of orders. You can integrate the couriers, prints the postage labels, and then manifests the orders at the end of the day, and also sends out automated emails.
It's kind of like the whole back end piece plus the marketplaces.
Yeah, yes, warehousing. Yeah, it does do some of these things. It does better than others, but yes, it is. I mean, similar things are things like Vico's another one, Channel Advisor's another more expensive one. Volo, which we used in the past, is another one. I mean, I think that I think if you're aiming to be a substantial business, you really need something like that to manage your business. Though you can. I mean, there's things like AdLister and stuff which will do it on a smaller scale. I mean, certainly, these days you see people, it's quite exhausting doing multi-channel business. I mean, some people, it's like an FBA seller thing. They just do it on Amazon. I can see why people do it, because you don't need the infrastructure then. And you don't need all the problems that go with it.
So with all that's been going on, Trevor, and with the new people you've got on board, what's the most exciting thing coming up in the near future for you guys?
Well, hopefully we will hopefully get a much better repeat customer rate. That's what we're really trying to work on at the moment, and become much more of a website focused business. And also, I want us to become much more of a kind of, because we focus on marketplaces, to a much more kind of like a vending machine business. Really, I want us to have much more of a give a better level of customer service by providing, having much more information about the products we sell, just, doing better on things like social media. And also perhaps I'd really like us to sell into some new verticals as well, because, having built a system for doing one thing, we could sell some other things. I don't want to be the guy that just sells baby stuff anymore.
E-commerce Master Plan is supported by some of the greatest companies in the e-commerce sector. Here's a reminder of who they are.
Success in 2021 means building stronger relationships with your customers. Last year saw a lot of consumers switching to buy online, leading to surges in new customer acquisition. So how are you planning on turning your new first-time buyers into profitable repeat customers? Well, that's what Klavio is for. Klavio helps businesses create memorable marketing moments through email, SMS, and personalised website experiences. And that is what creates repeat purchases. That's why Klavio, the ultimate e-commerce marketing platform, is used by over 50,000 e-commerce brands around the world. Get started with your free account today. Visit klavio.com/masterplan. That's KLAVIYO.com/masterplan. This message comes from e-commerce masterplan sponsor Wix eCommerce, the industry-leading e-commerce platform with advanced online storefront features. Wix eCommerce is the complete solution for entrepreneurs, omnichannel retailers and brands to launch, run and scale their online stores successfully. Go to wix.com/ecommerce, that's wix.com/ecommerce today, and join over 700,000 active stores selling worldwide with Wix eCommerce.
It's time for the top tips round.
Okay, Trevor, let's move on to our top tips. And I love this section because it gives me and our listeners some really quick ideas for taking our businesses to the next level. So you ready for these?
I'm born ready.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. Okay, first up is the book top tip. If everyone listening to this podcast agrees to take Friday off and read a book to make their business better, which book would you recommend?
Well, we're talking about, I'm going to slightly controversially say Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week, because I think it is 50% brilliant and 50% utter rubbish. But the 50%, the world has slightly caught up with Tim Ferriss, because I don't know if people haven't read it, but it's all about how you can I mean, his thing really is that you need to set up a business which effectively runs itself and spend 4 hours a week counting the money, which we all know that's the bit which is rubbish, because that's just too hard. You could spend 5 years creating a great business and then get someone else to manage it. That's his plan. We could all but I thought that talking about efficiency, his ideas on efficiency are very good, I think, and it's interesting. I mean, it's written like about 10 years ago now, but he was all about how everyone should work at home, and the world seems to have caught up with Tim Ferriss a bit, I think.
I agree with you. It is a book that's kind of 50% really sensible advice, but the goal is a little bit insane.
The idea that you can set up a business and then spend 4 hours running it. We all know that's not easy. I mean, I wrote an Udemy course. Udemy, it's like an online training platform. Mm-hmm. I wrote an Udemy course, which is kind of, I think, very much what Tim Ferriss would suggest. And I've had so far, it's been live for about 6 weeks, and I've had 20 people using it. So I haven't, but that's, that took me a long time to do. And if I spend a long time more doing it, I might be able to get a decent amount of money out of it. But I think, you have to be extremely lucky to be able to, to be able to do it. I mean, his tip is become J.K. Rowling, I think. It's not terribly helpful in a way.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Well, but it is still a very good book to read. Okay, let's move on.
50% brilliant.
50% brilliant. We'll take that. Okay, the traffic top tip. Which marketing method do you either prize above all others or think doesn't get the press it deserves?
Oh, I'm a bit of a marketplaces guy, so I think that market, everyone should be definitely looking at, eBay and Amazon, even though, I mean, selling on Amazon is an undignified business. But if you're not, and also international trade, I think that, if you're not already selling internationally, why not? Oh, actually, because of Brexit, that's why not. To a certain extent.
We nearly got to the end without mentioning the B word.
Don't get me started.
That's several other podcasts, that one.
Well, if I might just interject very briefly, it's been very, very... Basically, it was a bit of a disaster for the first 2 months of the year. Anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think that if you're, to a certain extent, selling stuff internationally, particularly with catalog-based marketplaces like Amazon, you can list on these marketplaces. It is to a certain extent the same as putting it in a different bag. If you're sending it via raw mail, you've got one bag for the UK notionally, several bags for the UK, and then one bag for worldwide airmail. And, you can do the customer service using Google Translate. So I think if you're not selling internationally, then you should.
Good advice. Okay, the tool top tip. Maybe a collaboration tool, a social media plugin, a phone app, or just a way of working. Is there a cool little tool you use that makes you and your team more efficient from day to day?
Well, we share passwords using, there's lots of passwords apps, but there's one we use, it's called LastPass. And that is, from a security point of view, I think important. And also from the point of view of just sharing passwords. So we got, because I got really bored of people asking me for passwords, and I got really bored of my phone being the phone which had the SMS thing on it as well. So we use something called AirDroid. So we have an Android phone in the office which has something called AirDroid on it, and you can log online, and you can see, and you can therefore get these SMSs for the various platforms or whatever, and that's really helpful. And we share the passwords using LastPass, and you can have different access levels for people. So you can say I've got certain passwords I want to share with the customer service team, and certain passwords I want to share with my accountant, and that's, in a small way, has really helped us. And I think you can only ever really hope for small improvements in things.
And such a good point on the security front. I mean, the number of businesses who still have it all written down in a notebook is so wrong. Everyone go and get LastPass right now and sort it out for the security of your business. Okay, the last one then is the growth top tip. If you met someone today who's focused on growing their e-commerce business from 100 orders per month to 1,000, what would be your number one tip for them?
Oh, God, 100 to 1,000. Oh, dear me. I think it's not just one thing, is it really? I've already said marketplaces.
We can say marketplaces again. That would be a completely acceptable answer.
Well, I think we might have to I mean, should we just say multi-channel e-commerce? I mean, you've obviously got, you've got an asset, which is whatever stock you've got, and you've got to try and sell it in as many places as possible, by as many routes as possible, and you've got to try and, use a system like Linworks or something similar in order to organise those sales. Because if you're trying to do them individually, you will spontaneously combust. And
we don't want anyone spontaneously combusting.
No, we wouldn't. So if you have a single, you have a single inventory, single source of inventory, a single stock level, and then, which you can then basically push out to whatever channels you're on. I think that is, my experience, it's an awful lot easier to do that than it is to bolt on new channels. The Frugos, the OnBuys, the Amazon eBays of this world, than it is to do SEO, than it is to do, pay-per-click is easy, not easy. Pay-per-click's doable, but it's expensive. I've always found email marketing to be quite an uphill struggle as well. And social media, my experience of, conversion rates on social media are very low. I think, just try and sell in as many places as possible, and you will pick up sales. It's not particularly sophisticated, but it's certainly effective.
We'll take effective every day of the week. Well, look, Trevor, before we say goodbye, could you let the listeners know where they can find you and your business on the web and social media, please?
So it's hellobabydirect.com is Hello Baby's e-commerce site.
Simple as that.
Yeah, if you just do a search for it. So if you do a search for Hello Baby Direct, the business is actually Hello Baby Limited, but it's Hello Baby Direct because someone else had nabbed Hello Baby previously.
Don't you just hate it when that happens?
There's actually a Chinese company called Hello Baby that makes a Hello Baby monitor. It has nothing to do with us, but everyone, because if you do a search for Hello Baby monitor, we're the first people that come up.
It's handy.
So we get loads of people. It's handy, yeah. We don't make it.
And Trevor, as well as running your own business, Hello Baby Direct, you also help others follow in your footsteps. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yes, so I've set up a consultancy called Vendlab. It's vendlab.com, which specialises in marketplaces, which is my kind of area of speciality, and process efficiency, like tools like Linworks, so helping people manage their multi-channel businesses.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure we've inspired a few people to properly consider marketplaces, so I suspect you'll get a few people getting in contact. So that was vendlab.com, is that right?
Yes, vendlab.com.
Marvellous. Well, Trevor, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been great hearing about your e-commerce journey, and you shared a lot of tips. So thank you very much for being here.
It's a bit of pleasure. Thank you.
So a really honest chat there from Trevor. I love how much he was willing to share and explain about his business, and phenomenal to think he's grown it internationally across both his own Magento site, across those marketing channels, and across all those multiple marketplaces around the world on his own, getting himself up to that 4 million turnover. And be really interesting to see how he gets on with expanding the team over the coming year or so. You can get your hands on the notes from today's show, including the top tips, links to what we've mentioned, and much more by heading over to ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast. There you can also add yourself to our email list, so you don't miss on any even of the other things, the many, many other things that I share to help you improve your business. Thank you so much for tuning in to this and all the episodes you do of the e-commerce master plan podcast. I bring you a new interview every week to inspire and help as many e-commerce business owners as possible to succeed and thrive with their businesses. So please do tell the other e-commerce business owners you know, because I would love to help them as well. Have a great week, and don't forget to keep optimizing.
Thank you for listening to the e-commerce master plan podcast. Find out more at ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast.